Hey guys, it's Molly. Thanks for joining me again. So today I have a new topic for you. My experience, my childhood growing up in a small town, but being pretty much like the only Asian throughout that small town, and how it was kind of like navigating it. And yeah, so I'll just kind of like dive into it and get into it. So by the time I was in middle school, I had been to 4 or 5 different schools. So every 4 years, my parents decided to move. They just felt like it was a great opportunity, to start new, get a fresh start, teach, their kids, my brother and I, how to adapt in new cultures and settings and, make new friends. So it kind of was like a blessing and a curse, but I did learn really fast on how to, adapt to new places. But anyways, my high school experience, I wasn't in one place long enough to make friends long enough, only up until I got to middle school. So I've been in a lot of private Christian academies or private, faith-based schools, which was really kind of like a blessing. So I was very sheltered. You know what I mean? So I went to 4 or 5 different schools. I went to like a Catholic school, I went to a private Christian school, and then I pretty much ended up at my high school years called Faith Academy. It was in the tiny, tiny little hill country of Marble Falls, Texas. At the time, we were going to schools in portables, like those like mobile homes, okay? Like, you picture like mobile homes, right? We had like one main building, but at the time, like we didn't really have a gym, okay? Like it was like out in the dirt fields. Like this is like really humble beginnings, very, very small town, humble beginnings. And my parents were just like, you know what, even though it's a little bit different than going to the public school, we really want Faith to be in the center of her studies and her world. And the teachers were just so loving and caring at the time, and they just really care about their kids, and there's just it's a different perspective to raise these kids, another way of what the world offered. But growing up being the only Asian was kind of interesting because I was the only Asian, and I was literally the only Asian throughout the whole school, okay? So like my whole school at the time, I mean maybe 1,000 students throughout the whole school, like pre-K through 12th grade, through high school. And so with having a school that small, it comes with its pros and cons, right? Like of course there's your typical drama that everyone experiences and goes through with high school. But I think the other thing that I was really blessed to have in high school was I was able to do a lot of things and be involved with everything. You know what I mean? And being an Asian American little young teenager with all this energy and like confidence and just trying to like figure out who I am. Of course I signed up for everything. Of course my parents pushed me to do everything. I did volleyball, I did basketball, I did all these sports. And so in my mind, especially in high school and middle school, I was very naive. My idea of Asians were just very unattractive, not like working on their fitness physique, right? Like it's less caring about appearance, but more so about studies and being, and in the libraries. A lot of my Asian friends at the time that, I didn't have many, but they were not in Marble Falls. They're either, studying or wanting to be an engineer or a doctor and stuff like that. And so I wanted to do sports. I was like, you know what? I was very, I was a good student, right? I could get by. I passed, with A's and B's, but by no means was I your typical like very smart Asian where I didn't have to study and then like boom, like I could just tell you, everything, regurgitate all this information that I had just learned. Like I really had to try in school, you know what I mean? And so what I really like to do is just being, out there in my communities, serving people. So whether that's, at the church, right? Singing or getting involved in, the worship team and the youth service programs. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is in my environment, everyone was so kind and everyone was so supportive and they loved the story. They loved me being adopted and being so involved with the city and giving my talents of wanting to sing, right? Of wanting to offer my talents back to the church or back to the school or back to our city's Rotary Club or singing the national anthem. So I didn't experience a lot of hate or a lot of discrimination. I think people were like, wow, she's just the girl who can sing, she's the girl who always sings. She's the girl who's always performing, or you know, either doing a sport or she's just always doing something, always involved. So my parents were very smart, and I love my parents for keeping me involved and well-rounded, because then it kind of sets you up for how really life is and how you want, you know, to balance things. But I think just being the only Asian American too, it was cool as well, because there was no expectations, right? I didn't have any competition. I didn't have to be like, oh, well, Sally over here is doing this, and I need to do that, and I need to do that. And my cousins who are Asian American too, you know, adopted from the same family, they're very smart, you know what I mean? And they're very bright, and she's studying to be a dentist right now, and they're incredible. So it's just cool to see how we've all taken, you know, our shape and who we are and our own journeys and our own individual experiences, but have all blossomed in our own way. And I know their experiences are a little bit different because they grew up in the public school system. So I'm sure if I grew up in the public school system, things would have been a little bit more probably difficult, you know. But I grew up very sheltered, and then when I moved to California, when I was 18, when I graduated, I learned not to be so naive about things, where I do see a little bit, it's a city, you know, so you understand, you're like, oh, okay, I see a lot of these topics, you know, talking about racism or social stigmas or anything like that that's going on. It's kind of like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But being in a small town, everyone knows everybody. I mean, I'm telling you, like, I was a worship leader, okay? So I would sing on Sunday morning, 3 services, every morning, the same song, because I wanted to serve the Lord, right? And I thought it was just something that I just felt like He was calling me to do, and I just genuinely had a passion for. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, if you're doing that, you can't be partying on Friday night and then go and sing it on church on Sunday and Saturday, you know? So I was a pretty straight student, I would think, you know, and enough to be able to come out here. But I think that, you know, my upbringing was just really wholesome. I think I had a really great upbringing. I had a good taste of different backgrounds and cultures, and then until I moved on my own and created my own my own self-discovery and journey, that's when I was like, okay, like, I'm learning a different side of things and another perspective of who I am. So I just love it all. But, you know, I appreciate you guys just listening to me talk about my high school experience and growing up. I kind of just rant. I mean, there's not really much kind of a formula to it. I just tell you what's on my heart, you know, genuinely, totally unscripted, just unfiltered, just me. So I appreciate you, and I thank you for, you know, taking the time to listen to me. So if you've made it this far, please like, subscribe, hit the follow button if you want to hear more stories. You know, I did mention my cousins, right? So they are my Asian cousins that have also been adopted at the same time as I was. So if you'd like to hear a video about them as well, please let me know in the comments below. All right, well, I hope to hear you guys from soon, and you have a great evening. Bye.